Are y'all excited to be here at the very first KnowlejCon?
Yes, the first.
This is not only a profession for people who just want to change communities. This is an opportunity for you to change the world.
I think black men are the masterpiece in education for a lot of reasons.
I got hired to be the big black bouncer at my school. I don't know if y'all knew that.
I call it the black male teacher tax.
You know, when we get away from what is the career path that we speak of, the one thing we got to do differently is to show these young people how dope it is to be educators.
All right, so I'm up here with, man, look, good friends and good brothers. I got Dennis McKeezy, I got Akbar Cook, and I got Mr. Larry Irvin. Y'all make some noise for my brothers. To somebody thinking about going into education, and I'll give it to Akbar first since we put you in the little chair.
Thank you.
To somebody thinking about going into education, what has been the most memorable impact that you have made as an educator?
Wow, loaded question. So I would say one of the most meaningful things for me is teaching some students in elementary school and being by their side all of this time to where now I'm about to hire one to be the assistant principal at my school. So that baby been with me all of this time. So, and I have more stories like that. But you know, even you know. I had some kids that are not built for, you know, the education, didn't go to school, but it was one of my special needs baby. But he was like always in the building cleaning. We set him up with one of my custodians. Now I hired him right out of high school, and he out here custodian at my school. So things of that nature. So hiring my babies to work in my building so one day I give it to them and I can, you know, I can go on to the sunset. So that's one of the biggest things that I'm happy about.
I love that. Brother McKeezy, same question to you. Can you think of any time that you've made a memorable impact in education, something that really resonates with you?
You know, now, again, similar to Ak, you know, what an amazing question. You know, somebody who's been in education for almost 3 decades. I've done it on every level, from school aide all the way up through college professor at Columbia University. And the one thing that I remember most out of all of those scenarios is that when I took the leap to start my own consulting company where I now support school leaders across the country, the thought that I remember the most is these young people that when I go to the school, I watch these young people come into the office of the principal, and they want to know who I am. You know, they see me dressed a certain kind of way. They used to actually refer to me as homo, like for the homicide, right? Like, 'cause they say, yo, he dressed like he's an investigator, homicide investigator. But now when I go into the schools, believe it or not, many of them actually look at me as somebody who they can aspire to be. And so I get to live this every day, whether I'm in Brooklyn, whether I'm in Moreno Valley with my sister, Principal Gilmore, or just anywhere around the nation, just being able to go and allow young people to see what is possible. And that the fact that someone who looks like them actually not only is working in schools, but doing so on a high level like this. And so I think every day I get the opportunity to impact. And just visiting schools again, I saw another principal that I support in the back, Principal Tancredi, same thing in Brooklyn. You walk into that building and to see kids walk into her office just to give me a pound and just to talk to me, it just makes me realize that this work transcends just what we've been told about it, but you can actually be somebody that they can touch, that they can talk to and aspire to be.
Amen, amen, amen. Give a hand to him for that. Brother Irvin, I'll give you space if you want to respond to that, but I'm also going to throw another question at you, too.
Well, I was getting ready for that one.
Oh, well, go ahead. Go off then, brother. I'm not going to leave you out.
I was getting ready for that one. But, I mean, you want to ask the question
No,
again?
you got it.
There's been a lot of moments as an educator, I think, that have been special for me. Those that, follow my work, we've recruited over 200 young men to become educators over the last 10 years through a fellowship, exposing them to, working in K-12. So there's a lot of success stories within that. A lot of conversion. A lot of brothers were going to Rochester and going to med school and literally made a U-turn and decided to go into education because of how the spoon we put it on and how we created that story and made them feel really, really valuable. But for me, one of my biggest moments of clarity, also for those who know my background, like I came into education, with a criminal record. I had to go through a whole process with the superintendent and things of that nature to get clearance to be around kids. And I started as a substitute. And I took assignments K through 12. And I remember being in kindergarten. I taught kindergarten for about a year. And crazy, right? And I was much bigger then. I was probably 100 pounds bigger than what I am now. Then.
So you must have looked like Ock when you sat down talking to the kids in their seats, right?
Listen.
Sitting in the little chairs in that classroom.
Man, listen. And the kids were I remember the kids just being so fascinated by me. They just like to watch me eat their lunches, right? So they would actually like tell their moms to like bring extra food for Mr. Irvin. And they would just give me their food and just watch me eat, right? Fascinated. But what
that's
I realized,
a TikTok thing now.
Right. What I realized though, they just thought I was just like this big, Winnie the Pooh character, right? What I realized though is being able to like juxtapose that experience to the work that I did and the barriers that I saw placing black males, kids didn't see us the same way. Like as this big black man with this beard, and they didn't see me as the adults did in the building and how my young men were saw. And they didn't deal with those same implicit biases and stereotypes and stigmas and preconceived notions of black men and that deficit perspective that's placed on a lot of black men and boys in the K-12 experience. They just saw me as a human being. And for me, that was just a real moment of clarity that, like, black men could be educators. There's something else going on when we try to place black men in education.
1,000%. 1,000%. Y'all clap it up for that, please. I'm going to come back to you, Irvin. Since you thought I was going to ditch you.
Come on with
question. What's one thing you wish everyone knew about the black male educator experience that probably goes undervoiced?
I think I've said this before, I don't know if it's radical or not. I think black men are the missing piece in education for a lot of reasons. I say this every time I hit a stage. I think black men just carry a lens. And it's not to like discredit any other races or demographics from education. They've been successful. Everybody can teach. Black men have been missing from the classroom, though. And I just think they're the missing lens a lot of times for particularly our young boys, right, who are seen from a deficit. They walk into classrooms, I think a lot of times their experience is contextualized behind behavioral expectations before it is academic success. And they're seen as liabilities, and it's an upward battle, I think, for a lot of black boys. And I look at a guy, my favorite rapper, a huge inspiration, 50 Cent, and he was deemed special ed in school. And I think if we were really honest and we reverse engineered his trajectory, to him being like a multimedia mogul, from a rapper being shot 9 times, things of that nature, coming from the environment he came from in Queens, I think he represents a lot of our black boys who are getting passed through the K-12 experience and then not really seen as the intellectual leads that they are, because it's ADHD, it's behavioral expectations. How can we and even my mom, I think, who was an educator, did her best to, make academics a priority. But, I like my cousins, like, my friends, we always heard, boy, don't go in that class cutting up. Right. Like, that was drilled in our head. Don't you go in that class cutting up. So it was more about survival and like not getting suspended. Right. That was the win versus academic success. And I just think black men, when placed in classrooms, I've seen time and time again, they're able to place a lens, I think, on a lot of these black men who are black boys who are unseen and are tremendous talents, like a 50 Cent. And because I feel like K-12 will make an explanation for that. Like, tell me why my favorite rapper was in special ed. Because if we look at it now, somebody missed the mark big time.
Mckeezy, what is one thing you wish more people knew about the black male educator experience?
It's dope, man. To be very honest, like I can go back into my experience. I started off as a special needs teacher in the Bronx. And as someone who can tell you, I don't remember a day that I didn't enjoy being a black male educator. I can't tell you that even now, every single day that I support schools and young people across the nation, there's not a day that I could say that it's not a dope experience, because people do look at you in a way that I think makes us feel like we're unicorns. And the reality of it is even just a few of us can make a tremendous impact. We got to look at these structural systems that we have in place in schools. You think about when we got early intervention We got early literacy intervention. We got a whole bunch of interventions that we know make an impact on young people. The structural advantages of having black male and black male conversations is the thing that will ultimately adjust this particular deficit that we see in education. You know, one of the things that I tell people all the time, because we've gotten to a place where we've villainized every single opportunity to tell young people, like, you could be you could be a principal. I talk about this all the time to people, is that I went to school and I had a couple of male educators that believed in me. However, I never thought to be an educator. Never, ever thought to be an educator. I did the typical black male thing. I want to make a whole bunch of money. I want to be an accountant. That's it. Like, I never thought about that. And it took my college advisor, who happened to be a 310-pound redhead, red beard, Irish man, to tell me, I see something in you and I think you should take that path. I loved school, Shivy. I loved it, but still no one ever pushed me in that direction. And so every opportunity that I get to tell people how dope it is to be a black male educator, I'm going to do it, because even though I experienced great educational experiences when I grew up, no one ever told me to take that route. No one.
Amen. All right. Brother Akbar, what's one thing that you wish everyone knew about the black male experience that probably goes underseen?
One, we not just disciplinarians.
Right? Thank you.
Right? I got hired to be the big black bouncer at my school. I don't know if y'all knew that.
Fact.
Dead serious.
Akbar, I call it the black male teacher tax.
Yes.
The black male teacher tax. You got to be the disciplinarian, right?
Dead serious. They threw me in the lunchroom with all those. Y'all have been to lunchrooms in elementary schools, them kids running around like, yo, get them. Like, get them what? I'm supposed to throw them against the wall? Like, what am I doing? Right? So, but it didn't stop there. So you get I want to say pigeonholed into this way they see you, how they just see you as a disciplinarian. And I struggled early because, one, it wasn't enough black role models in the school building that I was in for me to emulate. Or I won't say men of color, because it's not about just black. We know we doing a black male panel, but it wasn't enough men of color in that building. So I struggled because, one, I'm not a bouncer, right? I didn't go to school for that. I love kids, and I felt at the time I was the kid whisperer. Like, I knew what these babies were thinking before they could think it. So I struggled, and then I ended up getting switched to another schooling with so many men of color in this building, and I got to emulate them and steal from each one that was doing well, and I came into my own. So then I ended up becoming an administrator, and even then, folks still wanted me to be the bouncer. Like, all right, now you the disciplinary vice principal. Like, all right, still go throw them against the wall, go handle them. And again, that wasn't my mark. And one thing stuck to me. I was doing one of those. It was I want to say PD for administrators, and I had this lady that was like, I don't know if like a principal is for you. You like striking me as a guy that's going to be like a head of a boys and girls club or something like that. And that I'm just like, girl. Yeah, I don't know. She seen me on Ellen. She seen me Oprah come to my school, give me $500,000. So
hold on, Akbar, you said she saw you where?
She saw me on Ellen three times. Let's talk.
Okay, three times. All
right, Burbank, y'all in here somewhere. Yep. But it was the biggest, I want to say, I can't say that word in here because it's bad, but to them, it's like we are more than just bouncers. I love on them babies more than some, and women, I love you guys, but I'm loving on these babies. I'm meeting them where they are, and I'm going to do everything, and it's because I see me in them. And if I'm not doper than a drug dealer around the corner, then my babies are still going to flirt to that. So I have to be that. So that was my biggest misconception. I'm not a disciplinarian. I love on these babies just as any other, sex can. That's appropriate. Yeah, I ain't gonna get in trouble up here.
I think we could all agree, even for males or women teachers in the building today, that there is a cost to doing the work, right? I'm curious from you all, and I'll start with you, McKeezy. What is a part of being a black male educator that has cost you something personally, emotionally, professionally, or socially?
Shivy, that question is one that I think I live every day. I think I heard someone mention this before. It's not about if you're going to lose something, it's about what you're willing to lose, what you're willing to sacrifice to be the greatest educator you can possibly be. And as someone who looks back over my career, especially in the past 15, 20 years of my life, I've spent 15 hours out of my house each day to educate young people and to change communities. And with that, you lose touch with your kids, you lose touch with your significant others, you lose touch with the people that you love. And then you look, and my daughter, who's now 13, it's like, wow, where did the time go? My son, who graduates Hampton University in May, where did the time go? One of the most difficult aspects of this thing is that it's still an expectation that us as black males still, have to be out there and make these type of sacrifices, not only for our families, but for the communities in which we serve. Point blank, this right here is a true calling. And I accepted it a long time ago, and I knew what would happen once you dedicate so much of your life to something that you love, that there's going to be things that you thought you loved that will ultimately start to falter, and things that will not be able, you can't get it back. You know what I'm saying? As much as we like to believe we can, spend more time with our family and go on more vacation, that just doesn't happen when you try to impact the lives that I know that I've tried to impact. And so you can count what that looks like, that every single day I'm out my house for 15 hours a day. And again, it's tough because, you want to continue to have those relationships at home, but it just doesn't work. And I just recommend everybody here to understand this, that if you're going to do this work, male or female, just understand you will lose something. You got to ask yourself, what are you willing to lose? Because by the time this is over, you're going to look back and ask yourself the question, was it really all worth it? And I'm saying right now, as a person who's done this for 30 years, every bit of it is worth it. I love who and everything that I've had. I love everything that I've lost. But at the same time, I will never change anything that I did, because I know that I answered God's calling.
Amen. Ashe. Brother Irvin, I'm going to throw the same question over your way. What part of being a black male educator has cost you something personally, emotionally, professionally, or socially?
I would definitely say my insanity, for sure, has been, and I think that goes for all teachers, but I think when we're talking about this black male educator piece and what representation means for that demographic and young boys, what it's taken for me to create that connective tissue. That connective tissue is really sticky, because I think there's so few positive, not enough that they can actually see, touch, feel, smell, call, with all their issues. And a lot of times we've taken, in my work anyway, we've taken a holistic approach so when we recruit a fellow, to come into our program, like, we're taking on that young man and everything that comes with it, everything he's bringing from his house, the neighborhood he's coming from. We're not just creating an educator, we're creating it's adulting 101. It's personal development, professional development. It's manhood, masculinity. We're trying to instill all of these different things into these young men, and that connective tissue is sticky, man, and it's a heavy weight. It's just a heavy weight to carry, because you never know when the phone's going to call, and where do you draw that line as a leader, right? Because it's such that mission-driven work is so needed, and they need those those role models and that representation, because it's a cyclical effect. They see me, I see them, they go to the students. And you feel responsible for that entire process, and it's a heavy weight, man. So I would say my insanity, for sure.
Brother Akbar, what part of being a black male educator do you feel has cost you the most? And I would even add to that, how do we make peace with it?
Yeah, this hits home, listening to these two gentlemen talk. For years, I thought I wasn't a good father because I was spending more time with other people's children than my own. I have 3 sons, so I'm supposed to be the leader of men, and I'm not with my 3 sons the way I should be. So I struggled. I mean, I needed mentors like Dennis and to give me guidance. But they say if you build it, they will come. So I threw all of that energy into my school, and now 2 of my sons go to my school, and I get to spend 15 hours a day with them. They drive to school with me. You know, they come back home. They get an associate's degree in business administration while they're still in high school. So I combated, start not saying woe is me, because Dennis, if Dennis your coach, he gonna Dennis you. Okay, what now? So I'm over here crying because I'm not a good dad. Like, well, how you gonna spend more time with your kids? So you had to build it. So I want to say that how I fixed it. I made my building good enough for my family to be there. My mother works there. It's nepotism at its finest. My mother is in the kitchen. What we talking about?
A little black nepotism, ain't nothing wrong with it.
So if you come to West Side, you're going to see about 4 or 5 cooks in there. And I'm proud to say nepotism got them there, and I'm with my family most of the day now. So
Amen.
That's how we fix that, Shivy.
Amen.
Yeah.
But also, shout out to administrators who educate their children at the school that they work at.
Yes.
If you know, you know. If you know, you know. Brother Larry, in what ways are black male educators often celebrated symbolically but constrained structurally? And how does that contradiction, show up in your daily work?
The disciplinary piece.
Okay.
I think the disciplinary piece. I think sometimes we can confuse impact with influence and what that looks like, and how that's positioned. A lot of times that doesn't always equal the same thing. When I spoke about, I alluded to earlier when it comes to like black boys being seen as intellectual leads. I think it's the same for black men when it comes to the profession. And which route do you go? Do you go to the administrative route? Do you stay in the classroom to keep that impact? And how do you truly measure success as a black man? Is it in because we all the salary increases with the the further you go up the scale. So it's a hell of a decision to make. And what does really impact really look? I think it looks different for everybody, but I think it's hard to define for some men your impact versus your influence, and what does power really look like for a black male?
That's good. That's good. McKeezy, same question. In what ways have black male educators often been celebrated symbolically but constrained structurally? And how does that contradiction show up in your daily work?
Akbar said it, and as well as Larry's talking about us as disciplinarians, right? We get celebrated when we can bring calm to a situation. And I think that's a great thing. And I think we got to celebrate that type of stuff too. I don't want anybody to assume that being an Akbar cook where people are hiring him initially to be the disciplinarian could ever be a bad thing. Sometimes that needs to be the first step. When I started off as a school aide, I'm in the schoolyard. My job was to do that. But while I was there, I was also learning the intricacies of educators. I was also, when I left the schoolyard and I was going into Mr. Mercedes' 5th grade classroom, even though my shift was over at 1, from 1 to 2, I still had access to some amazing educators that I got an opportunity to go and spend some time with. And so I think as we celebrate these things that I think people have found a way to, again, villainize, I think we got to look at the opportunity that we are in schools, and we have an opportunity right there to make a tremendous impact far beyond whatever our pay scale is. The fact that when we move, things move. When we get into classrooms, things move. When we get into the schoolyard, things move. I think it's important that we start to celebrate those things that we didn't like either. Because one of the things I tell principals now is, how are you going to actually grow if you don't acknowledge the things you don't like to do? Acknowledge it. Whether or not you fix it or not is your business. But the reality of it is to acknowledge what you don't like to do. And the one thing I did, I never looked at my position as an opportunity to just simply discipline. I looked at it as an opportunity to influence. And that's what I did in those experiences. And again, for me to be able to tell you that I rose through the ranks of education from school aid all the way through to higher ed, it's just important that people understand that there was a humble beginning, but it's something that I wouldn't trade for the world. So I definitely think that in celebrating those things, let's start celebrating the fact that we all had to start somewhere.
That's right. Brother Akbar, same question. In what ways have black male educators often been celebrated symbolically, but constrained structurally? And how do you deal with that contradiction in your daily work?
I just think getting back to what these two gentlemen said, it's like we get pigeonholed into, all right, the disciplinary or the gym teacher, right? So, and then we get in there and we got some amazing math teachers, amazing science teachers, and then it's like they just let them plateau there. Like, what about administration? Like I said this when we did our actual live rulers engagement show, I didn't want to be a principal. I thought that, I was good at the vice principal. I was letting, protecting his blind side and all of that. But then with me, it became, I got tired of asking for permission. So we have all these amazing minds out here, and you got to keep asking for permission. At some point, you got to level up. So ain't no more asking for permission. You asking for forgiveness, So let's not just be cool with just being a teacher and being complacent. Let's keep going up. And I know, we talked about it earlier, the further you go up, the less you are with kids. I know you guys know that. Like, so if you a principal, you don't see them babies. You're assistant super and it goes up, you don't see them. So we kind of lose our power, because it's like when we used to play like tag, and the closer you was to home base, you felt like you were strong, then the further you get away. So as we get further away from actually teaching, I feel like we lose our powers. But I just want to tell anybody, black men, don't plateau. You can go up there and you can really make a change up top.
Amen. I have to acknowledge that I think there is a black male favor that we have. I think there's a black male privilege that we have in schools. And what that looks like to me is, often you see black men fast-tracked into administration and out of the classroom in ways that you probably don't see with other people. But I also know that we suffer from one of the biggest structural issue that our women counterparts do as well. And it's just the fact that America doesn't value the work of women, and that's why teachers are underpaid.
They act like they don't have that problem there, Shivy.
Right, listen.
Where y'all work at?
I know I'm in California, and I know y'all get paid real good over here. Okay, but over in the South where I come from, right, you got teachers making, 37,000, 40-something thousand, right? When I became a school board member in Atlanta, the year before I was elected, the starting salary for a teacher was $51,000. And I made it a campaign promise of mine that we would get our teachers to a starting pay of $65,000 before my term was out. And within 5 months, the teachers' pay increased to $63,000, and they're highest paid in the Southeast. And for me, that's one of the biggest flexes of the impact that I've been able to make in education, because the reality is that too many teachers are not paid a dignified wage. And there's a consequence to that. In the district I teach in, unfortunately, doesn't get paid as well as the district I run. And we start the school year every year with at least 140 vacancies. For the 2 years that I've been elected on Atlanta Public School Board, we've had 0 vacancies on day one every year. So structurally, yeah, we're suffering from the same thing. We have to compensate teachers a dignified wage so that we can pay them enough to be able to show up for our kids and look like somebody that the kids want to be. So, when you guys think about how being a black man has not just shaped how students see you, but I'm curious to you guys, how has the system responded to you differently as a professional, as a disciplinarian, or as a leader?
From my position, right, I was working from the nonprofit space. So, as an outside partner, if you will, of K-12. So I think, I had a little bit more freedom and agency as far as the curricula, how I expose young men to education, the conversations and dialogues I was having. I would love to hear, if y'all don't mind, brothers, like from their standpoint, working in schools per se.
Yep.
Like addressing it from that perspective and vantage point.
Yeah, I'll throw it over to you.
So say the question again.
So the question is, how is being a black man shaped not just how students see you, but how systems respond to you as a professional, as a disciplinarian, and as a leader?
I think once we started getting motion, from all of the things that we're doing in the community, I think it validated the work that we were doing. Again, I started off as a disciplinarian. I was the discipline vice principal, but then we started Lights On program. It was like, okay, I'm taking what I know about my neighborhood, and now not only am I going to feed my kids, I'm going to give them a safe place. And then, some of the other things start happening. So when you start getting recognition from that, and then other community members start coming in, start to validate you as a leader, and then you can start doing more. Again, our students can't wait for policies to change. We got to change the policy. So I never was that guy that's sitting around waiting for someone to save me. These babies depended on me right then and there. So as a black man, I took it upon myself that, listen, if I'm going to go out, I'm going to go out swinging. And some of the ideas, they stuck, and some of them didn't, and we just kept it moving. So I just think when your work speaks for itself, that's all the validation you need, because my heart grows fond of those babies being saved and doing wonderful things. So that was it for me. I don't know if I answered your question, but that's what I got from you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Same question to you, Brother McKeezy. How is being a black man shaped not just how students see you? I think we kind of tapped on some of this, right? Like what is different for our experience, but also like how do systems respond to you differently as a professional, as a disciplinarian, as a leader?
Again, just because of, just through optics, you would assume that I'm good at all those things, right? And I don't mind actually even buying into that and letting them believe that too, right? Because if that means that I'm the expert at being able to help discipline, then I'll do that too, right? I think somehow you got to get in the door. Once you get in the door, you can make the shifts and the changes that we're talking about. And when you walk through buildings, when you walk through schools, when you walk through communities, and you're not afraid of that, and that you're willing to go there and make the change and not worry about the money initially. Don't worry about the money initially. When you're willing to do that, I think what happens is that the system in itself will actually cater more towards you because of the fact that they see the change that you make just because you can walk in that space. Again, I was always Mr. McKeezy until recently became Dr. McKeezy, right? And so ultimately I tell people, if education is where we're at, the highest level of the highest degree I can get is a doctorate. And guess what? I can do that and walk through it proudly when I walk into a school, middle school, high school, elementary school, and let them know, yes, I am Dr. McKeezy, not because I need to brag on that, but I need you to know what's possible. So the changes, I didn't necessarily need the validation anymore. I didn't need it because the young people validated me every time I walk into a building, and they look at me as somebody they can aspire to be.
Amen. My last question before we open it up to the audience. Y'all getting your questions ready? Okay. I'm going to throw it to you, Akbar. When you think about...
I was like the slow one in class, I think. I'll be needing them to start answering, then I'll come up with something good.
You want me to go the other way?
I'm just saying. Nah, come on, I'm ready for you. I'm just saying, like, you had a pattern going. I know he ain't been asking me the question first.
I love it.
I've been last. I want y'all to know that.
I love it.
Let's go. I'm going to figure it out. Let's go.
I've been trying to bounce it around.
I went to Catholic school, man. Come on, man. We ain't had special ed in Catholic school.
No, y'all be...
Come on, man. I probably should have been in there.
You should have been in 50 Cent class. It's cool. Chance the Rapper was there, too. He said it. Do that. When you think about legacy, what do you hope remains because you were an educator? I want to say that again. What do you hope remains because you were an educator? And what do you hope ends with your generation of black male educators?
Wow. See how he did that?
Yo, my question bag.
I was good at the beginning. Then it was like, wow.
Yo, couldn't he just ask two questions? Like, why did he have to combine all one? We know you don't remember. We know you don't remember nothing he just said.
No, I heard legacy and then what? Something about the black educators after I'm gone. Right?
What do you hope remains because you were an educator? What change that you've made, impact that you made, do you hope lives beyond you? But also, what do you hope stops in our generation as well?
I mean, for West Side, I mean, my ultimate goal was one. I said it earlier. I want to leave it to the students of West Side. I wanted the babies that want to stick with education, that want to give back to the community. I want to make sure that I hire them and I show them the right way, right? That's first and foremost. So my legacy is going to be that man loved on them babies. I say my vision statement is from the moment they enter our doors until they gainfully employed, making a living wage, I will be by their side. And I'm talking about real living wages. They're in Cali. I know y'all got some in New York City. Y'all got some high living wages, but it's my job to show them the roadmap to success. So on my tombstone or my legacy being that man loved on them and he found a way for all of them to eat. Now, some of them don't eat, but I also was upfront and honest with them because I told them that person that's out there that's panhandling, it's one of you are going to replace him. It's the truth, and we can't. They listen to the most raunchiest music we ever heard. So when it's time to talk to them, y'all got to give it to them that same way because they can take it. Stop enabling these babies. They can take it. So I'm letting them know somebody is going to replace them. Is it going to be you? Right? So I want my legacy to be he loved on them, he showed them the way, he gave them a roadmap to success. What I want to change is I want this crab syndrome that's in my neighborhood where we just keep pulling each other down and don't want to see one eat. That has to stop, man. We're never going to make it if we don't keep pulling each other up. I pride myself, and Dennis knows, like, if you look around me, I'm always pulling somebody up because I would not be here without mentors or somebody pull me up. My mother was a single parent, and there was so many men in the community that made sure I was doing right by them. So it still takes a village. So I'm hoping that we get out of that and we stop, this crab syndrome that we have in our urban communities.
Amen. Amen. Brother McKeezy, when you think about legacy, what do you hope remains because you were in education? But also, what do you hope stops with this generation?
Well, what I hope my legacy will be is to allow young people the opportunity to see us as, the possible career path that they want to take. I think what we do in schools is very important for us to allow young people to look at this opportunity that we have. That they have to pick a career, that they would choose to be a principal, that they would choose to be an administrator, they would choose to be a superintendent. But notice we never have that conversation. Notice that, we have some amazing school leaders in this building right now. And the question I would always ask a student is, do you want to be a principal? And most of them will say no. Most of them will say, I don't want to be an educator. And the hope that the legacy I hope to leave in this space is that I show young people by way of mentorship and coaching and understanding is that this is not only a profession for people who just want to change communities. This is an opportunity for you to change the world. And so when we talk about this, teacher shortage that we speak of, you got to change it from the grassroots. We keep trying to solve this problem when they're already in the workforce. If we start talking to the young people in first grade, in second grade, and throughout elementary school about this being a possibility, I guarantee you we will close that gap. But just like I experienced, Shivy, no one didn't tell me that this was an option until I got to college. And somebody that didn't look like me told me that this, and I loved school, but somebody who didn't even look like me told me to do this. And so when you walk into a building, you can, when we get away from what is the career path that we speak of, the one thing we got to do differently is to show these young people how dope it is to be educators and to speak on it as if it's a dope profession.
That's right. That's right. Brother Larry, when you think about legacy, what do you hope remains because you were in education? What do you hope ends with our generation of black male educators?
I want to see the continuation of the Dr. Dennis McKeezy's, Ox, the rebranding of education and being a teacher and being an educator. It's a cool thing. I want to make it sexy again, and reignite. Because there was a time where teaching was like it was the thing.
I don't know what you heard. It's still a thing, brother.
It's still a thing. Well,
we're still making it look good over here.
We're making it look good,
That's
and
right.
I want to keep that legacy going. What I wish we would change. I would like to see some conversations around brothers and just folks in general, men and women who've made a mistake, like myself, and may have been in jail, been arrested, and I think I know some really dope folks who've been in jail who, if you put them in front of classrooms, would change lives. No, hands down.
Amen. 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 That's good. That's good. And so, to all of us who show up in the space, all of the black male educators here, all the women educators here who are showing up, making this thing look cool, changing the dynamics, changing the narrative as to who we are as educators or who we could be. Thank you for showing up. Give yourselves a round of applause.